It is the first day of November, and so today, someone will die. Hello everybody, my name is Sheila or SL Reads, and welcome to my October wrap-up and November TBR. In October, I read 6 books, and I started another one, but I haven't finished it, so I'll include that in whatever wrap-up it is when I actually do end up finishing it. This is a great reading month for me. It's been one of my best of the year, probably, at least for the past few months. I had like a giant reading slump, so now I'm kind of getting back into everything. So the first book that I finished in the month of October was An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. You may have noticed I included this in my September wrap-up, but I didn't actually finish it in September. I was really hoping that I would, and then I just didn't. I finished this really early on in October, but I feel like in my September wrap-up, although I did talk about this, I didn't give my full thoughts on it, and I'm hoping to post a review on Goodreads, which I'll link down below. This book involves the Fae. Lots of people compare it to Agatha, but I feel like it's very different, and something I really enjoyed about this book is that while there are like trials and everything, and there's just like all this stuff that the people have to go through, just because they're the main characters of the book, and because they're like, I guess, the chosen ones for this story, they don't have it easy. Like, they still have to go through shit, and they're still in danger, and the thing that I really enjoyed is that instead of just giving them an easy way out, they actually had to fight their way out of things that were difficult, out of these obstacles and these awful things that were happening to them. But I really liked this book. I feel like this book showed the Fae more in a way that I see them, which is more like they're scary, stay away from them, than like Agatha did. I really love the romance in this. It was more realistic than other ones, and the characters were just great and very fleshed out, and I really enjoyed it. If you watched my readathon video a few weeks ago, then you know I finished a few books during that, and one of them was The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. Unfortunately, I really did not like this book at all. This was one of my most anticipated reads ever since I found out about it. I loved Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows duology. I was not a really big fan of the Grisha trilogy, but I thought that this would be great because, I mean, Six of Crows was fantastic, and these are the stories that people in that world would have grown up hearing. I felt that these stories were very, very unoriginal. I thought for some reason that they would be something that I'd never heard before, but a lot of this was just splicing together fairy tales that I had already heard before, like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, the Minotaur, things like that. One of them was about a nutcracker, and it was literally the nutcracker, but with like PTSD and like drama involved, and I was like, I feel like you could have done a little better, like making up your own fairy tales. I definitely expected more of Leigh Bardugo, and I was pretty disappointed in this. I wrote a very thorough review on Goodreads for this. I separated it by every single story. I think there are 5 or 6 in here, and I talked about what I liked about them, what I didn't, what their similarities were to like stories that I'd already heard. So if you want to check that out, I will also link that down below. The other book that I finished for the readathon by Zoe was Miss Marvel No Normal. This is, I think, volume 1 of the Miss Marvel comics. I really liked this. I haven't read a comic book in a long time, and I feel like I'm always just reading regular books, and I just never think to pick one up. But my school is doing a campus-wide book club about this, and so I went to a book club meeting for it and got to discuss it, and it was really fun. I really enjoy the cultural aspects of this because Captain Marvel was a white blonde woman, and our protagonist Kamala Khan in this is Pakistani, and I feel like a lot of well-known superheroes are just white men and women. And having a more diverse character is definitely good for representation. During my book club meeting, there were lots of girls there who talked about identifying with this character, and I thought that was amazing. It's definitely something that we really need, these amazing characters, because really she's such a great superhero, and she's learning how to be herself. She doesn't really know what's going on, but she's kind of just going with it. She lives in Jersey, and so there's all these superheroes that are protecting New York City, but New Jersey isn't really being protected. And so she knows that if she doesn't do it, then nobody else is really going to, and she wants to protect her home. One thing that I really hope from this in the future comics, which hopefully I will get to reading, is that she will tell her parents and the people that she trusts that she is this superhero, and that's what's going on, because she does have a really strong connection with her parents and with her family. I feel like she can definitely incorporate that into her life and figure out how to work with this and tell her parents. The series that I really wanted to finish in October was The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. This is one of my favorite book series of all times. I read it a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. There's definitely a very strong community for this book series on Tumblr, which I am a big part of, and I feel like I've spent so much time looking at the fan content that I was kind of getting away from the reason that I fell in love with this story. While I love all the fan content, it's such a different experience to read these books themselves. These books are absolutely breathtaking. It is such an experience to read them. I love all these characters. I love the way that Maggie Stiefvater writes. She writes very dynamic characters that deal with things that are definitely prominent in real life, and I hope to be doing a full series review of this at some point. We shall see how that goes. I'm not really the best at review videos, but I definitely think that this is a series that everybody should read. It is something that I love so much. It is such a grand adventure with great characters, great friendships, and family aspects, and it is just, oh, I just love this series so much. I am halfway through Blue Lily Lily Blue in my reread right now, and so I'm going to finish it. pinky promise, by the time November comes. It's been a little difficult rereading the series while I'm in school because when I get to class early I take my book out and I start reading it and then I don't want to put it down when class starts. I mean, I have to, but it's also like you just fall into this world and I fall into this place and it has such a homey feeling in my heart and oh, I just love them so much. The book club meeting that I went to for Miss Marvel was in my residence hall library, and so after the book club meeting I decided to go peruse the shelves, and I ended up walking away with 4 books, and then I went back the next day and got another one. So that is a big proportion of the books that I want to read this month because I want to read them before I have to give them back to the library, so we're gonna see how that goes. So these are all the books that I hope to read in the month of November. This is a little daunting, but I feel like I could do it. Like, I definitely feel like I could do it. So obviously, seeing as I just talked about the 3 books that I read from this series, I will be finishing the Raven Cycle series with The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. I read this book like before it even came out. Somehow I found a copy at the bookstore like the week before it was supposed to be released, and I read it that entire night. It was all at once. It was a very emotional experience, and this is one of the main reasons that I wanted to reread this series before I went to go see Maggie Stiefvater, and just in general, because I feel like that was a bit of a rush to read it like straight through, and I feel like I just want to reread this one and see what things I missed. One of the books that I picked up at the library that I was waiting to get until it came out in paperback, because it is the final book in a trilogy, and I have the other ones in paperback. I want it to match and look all beautiful. But that book is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is the 3rd book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. I really enjoy this series. I feel like there are some things about it that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I've definitely been looking forward to this for a while. It's a lot thicker than I was expecting it to be. The other ones aren't this thick. And it's not just because it's a hardcover. It's just like this is like 1.5 of the other books, which is a little scary. It's a pretty hefty book right here, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. This is a magical series that involves 4 different Londons. That's the London of our world, which is in the past, I think Victorian London, sometime around there. That is called Grey London. The main character is Kell. He is an Antari, which means he can work blood magic and travel between the different Londons. He is from Red London, which is the one filled with magic. It is beautiful. You definitely saw a lot of it in the 2nd book more than you saw in the 1st one. Beyond that, there is White London, which is pretty scary because you really see like the price of magic. They had brutal rulers, and now they have a new, also very scary ruler. The 4th London is Black London, where people depended on magic too much and it destroyed them. And the Antari, who are the only ones who can go between these different Londons and these different worlds, cannot go to Black London. It is like banned. It's just kind of like, don't go there, it's dangerous, you're gonna get yourself killed. So this is the conclusion. I remember the last book ended in a bit of a cliffhanger and it was very stressful for me. I hope this book is good, because this came out way early this year, so I really hope it's worth it. I hope it's a good end to the series. Another book that I got from the library is Tokyo Style Guide by Jane Lawson. Really, it was the cover of this book that captivated me and made me want to read it. I wanted to be a fashion designer for a while, and so whenever I see style, I'm like, ooh, I kind of want to pick that up. I have lots of fashion books, and so that's originally what I thought this was. But at the top it says Eat, Sleep, Shop. I feel like it's just going to be a guide to the beautiful things that Tokyo has to offer. I've never been to Tokyo, but I've heard so many amazing things about this. I love guidebooks and just traveling in general, and so I really hope to read this and one day put it to good use. The next book that I want to read in November is a book that was originally on my October TBR, but I didn't get around to it because I was reading the Raven Cycle and it took me a lot longer than I was expecting. That is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This movie is coming out in November, so I actually have to finish this book before the movie comes out so that I can go see it. This is obviously a murder mystery. I don't really read mysteries besides Nancy Drew, and I've never really read a murder mystery, and so I'm really excited about this because Agatha Christie is a really well-known author, and I've always wanted to pick up something by her, and so I'm glad that I finally have the chance to. The next book, which is probably going to be the first book that I read in November, is the book that I read a quote from at the beginning of this video. That is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. Part of me wanted to reread this, obviously for the reason I'm rereading the Raven Cycle, because I'm seeing Maggie Stiefvater. As you heard from that quote, this book takes place in November. November 1st is when the Scorpio races begin. Scorpio races are horse races. I adore horses so much. They're my favorite animal, and I just love them so much. But the horses in this book are very different from the horses that everybody knows and loves. They are man-eating horses. They're very dangerous. They come from the sea. I can't pronounce the name of them, but in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, like the way original version, they were called Kelpies, so it's essentially that. They're water demons, they eat people, very dangerous, but this horse race involves capturing and riding them. It is a very dangerous competition. Our main characters are Puck Connolly, who is an orphan on the island of Thisbe where the races take place. She decides to enter the races so that she does not lose her house because her family is very poor, especially since her parents were eaten by horses. Which puts a little damper on everything, if you ask me. Our other main character is Sean Kendrick. He works as a trainer on this island, and he trains the horses for this race so that everybody can ride them. It's very dangerous, but it's very ingrained in the culture of the island. It definitely reminds me a lot of Ireland, which is where I'm from, and I've been there, and so that's definitely the vibe I got from this. It is hands down one of my favorite standalones. So you may have noticed when I held up all of my books that there were 3 very small books in my TBR pile. Those 3 books are The Goddaughter, The Goddaughter's Revenge, and The Artful Goddaughter by Melodie Campbell. I obviously found these books in the library. I saw them a few weeks ago when I was in there studying. They were definitely the smallest books on that particular shelf, if not in the entire library. They're called rapid reads, so I feel like they're going to be really easy for me to read this month. This book series follows Gina Gallo. She is the goddaughter, which seems to be like a godfather-like character. She's part of a crime family, like the mafia is involved. I don't really know that much about it besides this. I'd like to go into it not really knowing that much just because it's such a short book, and I feel like if you read a big summary it's just going to tell you everything. So I've been trying to stay away from that. I'm very interested in the mafia and crime families in general. Those are the kind of books that I want to write at some point. They look pretty cool. I like the concept of it, the goddaughter versus the godfather, and so I hope to get to this very soon. So that is all for my October wrap-up and November TBR. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did. I put out new videos every single week, and let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you have any recommendations, or what books you want to read this month. I would love to know, and I'd love to start a conversation with any and all of you. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!